All right, good evening, everybody. Welcome. My name is Christopher Ruocchio. I'm the author of the Sun Eaters science fantasy series from Doll Books and junior editor at Baen Books with 5 years of experience in the publishing industry and a lifelong Star Wars fan. So today we're going to talk about episode 7, season 2 of The Mandalorian. But before that, we got a lot of Star Wars news to go through, and I thought it would be fun to do that. You know, people gotta filter in before we get to the episode. Anyway, I see Dennis is here though. Dennis, glad you could be back, my friend, and hello to everybody else. Hope you all are having a good week. I had a pretty good week. Finally started seeing some movement on that secret project I've been alluding to for a couple of years now. So I'm very excited about that. And I got some art too for Sword and Planet, the anthology I got coming out a year from now in next December. Very excited to see those sketches. The sketches for that. I should have the final in the next couple weeks. Dennis asked, Chris, are you going to keep this Friday thing going for all the new shows? No, that is the question. I don't know yet. I might do it. I don't know if they're all going to be on Fridays, for one. I'm assuming that Disney Plus is going to stick with the Friday release thing and do them all weekly. Maybe they'll dump some all at once. But we'll see. I was, to be entirely honest with you guys, I was expecting these to go a little bit, to have a little bit more of a bigger audience week to week than we've had. But who knows? A year from now, whenever the next thing comes out, because I bet you Mandalorian season 3 is probably the next thing we're still getting. Channel could look very different, so I might do them, and I might not do them for every show too, because Lord knows there were like 10 of them, I think, including The Mandalorian, or 11. Hang on, I had to actually save the thumbnail image so that I can make sure I went through how I was feeling about all this. Because there's a principle in biology called RK selection, and I know this sounds like a tangent, but all species, at least of animals, I don't know, this doesn't really apply to bacteria or plants, are either R or K selected. Our selection species have thousands of offspring, like spiders or sharks do, and so they don't invest a lot of concern into their young. They just are counting on quantity to make sure their genes make it through. And K selected species, like human beings, will put a lot of care and investment into making sure their very small litter of children survives. Whales are like that, and humans are the prime example, because it takes, in some cases, 40 years for a human to go and be a fully grown adult. So Star Wars was sort of a K-selected property for a while, right? You had the first movie in 77, then in 80 and 83, and then nothing until, 98? Phantom Menace, and then 02, 05. And Disney has switched the whole script on how they're going to roll Star Wars out. It's definitely R-selected now. Yes, R-select. I get them backwards all the time. They're churning crap out. We got the next movie, of course, Rogue Squadron, directed by Patty Jenkins in 2023. Pretty optimistic about that. I think Wonder Woman is one of the most overly praised movies last few years. I think it's fine. I like her visual style. I'm not a huge fan of the film. It was okay, but it was a pretty bog standard superhero movie, in my opinion. Had some stuff I liked, but as far as the actual visual composition's great. I think the Rogue Squadron movie is going to look awesome. Very excited about that. Although it is apparently set some point in the future, so it's not the Rogue Squadron we know. It's not going to be Wedge. It's not going to be Luke. It's going to be some other people. It might even be after Episode 9, which I'm a little bit less excited about, because, as you guys know, I'm not a fan of the sequels. I don't like the direction that all took the universe, so we'll see how it goes. And then the other film they mentioned was, of course, Taika Waititi is doing I think maybe a trilogy of films, and the little promo thing that they threw out had the Star Wars logo all cracked and made of stone. And it had that little, I forget what they're called, because it was Dawn of the Jedi was after my time as a big Star Wars fan, that Yortho or Tho-Yor, something like that, it looked like. So the rumor is that it's maybe the ancient Jedi and where they came from. And that could be really cool. I like Taika Waititi. I don't quite get the hype. I think he's a great director, but I don't understand why he's, the new gold standard for a lot of people. That being said, if the rumors are true and he's, an alternative to the Rian Johnson trilogy, that we are never going to see, as far as I can tell. I think they just quietly push that under the rug. I'll take it. So I'm looking forward to that too. And if it is, ancient Jedi, they're still using metal swords, and it's got kind of like a Zardoz thing where these giant spaceships are just taking force sensitive people to Tython. Correct me if I'm wrong. Then yeah, that'll be really cool. As for the shows, again, I had to pull up the little thing here so I don't miss one. The Visions, the like anime short films, totally here for that. Many of you will know and can maybe tell by the Berserk and the Full Metal Alchemist behind me. I love anime. I love manga, and I always have. Mostly the stuff from the 90s was really my period. Big Shinichiro Watanabe fan, Cowboy Bebop, Samurai Champloo, that sort of stuff. So I'm excited to see what they do with the anime stuff. Let's see, I'm going to do the easy ones first. A Droid Story, I think it's just going to be an animated short film about R2 and 3PO. I love R2 and 3PO. I felt like they were underused in the sequel trilogy. It was nice that they had a cameo in Rogue One, of course, but I felt like they were underused. And when we got Anthony Daniels, we should use C-3PO as much as we can. I've always liked those two, so giving them a thing to do is a good move. Lando, I'm less excited about. I like Donald Glover, but I didn't think his version of Lando felt like Billy D. Williams. I was a little bit let down. He kind of like turned the Billy D. Williams up and down throughout Solo, and it felt inconsistent to me. So I'm a little hesitant to see where that goes. I love Lando Calrissian. He's awesome, but I'm not so sure about that one. I didn't like that he was like into his robot. Like that was a really weird, uncomfortable character choice in Solo. So we'll see how that goes. Let's see, I missed it. I'm going off the order I've got's a little bit patchy here, so I'm skipping a few. The Acolyte sounds great. Like 500 some years before Phantom Menace, so we've got a younger Yoda around, presumably. End of what they're calling the High Republic now as the dark side sort of comes back. Sounds super cool. But isn't this the one that's show run by the lady who used to carry water for Harvey Weinstein? I'm not saying that people who, hung around with bad people are bad people, but makes me a little, uncomfortable. But it could be cool. I want to look, further back in the timeline, further forward, get some different stuff. Of course, there'll be way more Jedi around, have a little bit of that prequel trilogy feel to it. So I'm optimistic about that one. I like that it was described as a mystery thriller, and it's got kind of like a David Fincher vibe, but in Star Wars, that's gonna be cool. So pretty hopeful about that one. Bad Batch looks great. More Filoni cartoon stuff. Looks more in the vein of the last season of Clone Wars in terms of the animation budget. Very excited to see where that goes. I need to catch up on Clone Wars, as Dennis well knows. I have not been the most attentive viewer, so I need to get up on that. So as far as the big ones go, though, it looks like what we've been talking about is definitely happening. They're going to kind of MCU the Mandalorian, and they're going to have Rangers and Ahsoka both feed into it. Very excited about both of those, to be honest. I like Cara Dune. I like Gina Carano a lot. And I, of course, like Ahsoka, not as much as Dennis does. But I like Ahsoka. She was really great in the one episode we've got, which of course is now some sort of backdoor pilot. But it looks like they're building up to some big event, which I assume is the Thrawn Ezra plotline. And the Thrawn mention in this season of The Mandalorian is now going to be our MCU post-credit Thanos reveal, right? And we're leading up towards the Thrawn event. And I assume Ezra will turn back up. And I have a crackpot theory that because all of these shows are avoiding the sequel trilogy, they might be trying to build up to some sort of world between worlds Ezra retcon thing. Now, that's just maybe a wish list, a hope, but we'll see. Feeling pretty good about that. I like that we're going to get some more breadth with these characters, and the storyline will have a little bit more coverage on an episode by episode basis. Since I've lamented frequently how few episodes there are in a season of The Mandalorian, and it sounds like some of these are these Disney Plus series are all over the place in terms of episode count. I read this morning that Loki over with the MCU is going to be 6 episodes, but the Cassian Andor show, to segue into that, is 12. I really liked Diego Luna's character in Rogue One. Honestly, I felt like he should have been the main character because Jyn Erso wasn't really much more than a plot device. She happened to know her dad, and he could have written the script without that. And I thought Cassian was a lot more compelling. So giving him his own show, I think K2 is probably going to be in it. Pretty excited about that. The little footage reel we got was great. I loved Rogue One. It was a little uneven at the beginning, but that third act was some of the best Star Wars I think there is. I really, really enjoyed it. Really glad he's going to get crack at his own story, even if we know he dies, right? So it's the problem with prequels. I do think I read somewhere that Stellan Skarsgård, of course, playing the Baron in Dune, is going to be in that as some sort of Imperial officer. So that's exciting. Let's see. And I left off the one I'm most excited about for last, Obi-Wan. I've always been a big fan of Obi-Wan. Even when he was just Alec Guinness, I really liked Obi-Wan Kenobi. But Phantom Menace Obi-Wan was sort of my character as a kid, right? That was the toy lightsaber I always had. I had the stupid, 90s Padawan braid ear loopy thing, and I was always running around the yard. So Obi-Wan's always been my guy. And I've been really excited that they were going to give Ewan another crack. I really want them to take prequel stuff and do it again, as much as they can to sort of, elevate some of that material in the public consciousness. And really, too, I'm so excited Hayden Christensen is coming back to play Darth Vader, and not Anakin, but Darth Vader, because I feel like maybe if he'd had better direction, right, his career wouldn't have been so nuked, right? I feel the same about poor Ahmed Best. Like these guys deserved a better crack than they got. I think I remember an interview recently with Liam Neeson where he's talking about Ahmed Best just being this really, really great physical actor, and his career just sort of went nowhere because he got so lampooned for being Jar Jar Binks. But I remember being a small kid and thinking Jar Jar was funny. My dad was like, but I didn't get the problem. Jar Jar's not great, but to have these actors, careers sort of ruined, is disappointing, because I've seen like Shattered Glass with Hayden Christensen. He's really good in that, in my opinion. So I think having him back to get another shot at the character, I assume we're going to see crispy Anakin in his meditation chambers and get some more humanity to Darth Vader in there. I think it's going to be really, really interesting. And they alluded in the stuff that we didn't get to see. I saw some reports and leaks and things where Kathleen Kennedy and the other producers were saying that Ewan and Hayden gotta get a rematch, right? I think it's a rematch of the century. Someone said, maybe Kennedy. So I'm assuming we're getting another lightsaber fight, and to have that alone is a selling point for me. I'm very excited about the Kenobi show. So to answer again, go back to the first question. I'll definitely do some of these. If we're going to reach the point where we've got a Star Wars show every single week, which, I think between the Marvel shows, because they announced like 8 billion Marvel shows and, 10, 11 Star Wars shows, they're going to have something every week of the year. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do, one of these streams for all of that. But for a select few of them, the Kenobi one, I think I'll probably do for sure. But we'll see how it goes. I spent a lot of today scheduling out my year. I've got a lot of short stories I need to do. My plan right now is to finish book 4 by the end of January, and I need to write a short story also by the end of January. And then it's a bunch of short projects up through, I think, July. And by the time of July, I'm starting in on book 5 so that I can maybe be done with book 5 by the time book 4 finally comes out. Sorry again that's running, about the delay that happened on that. I'm trying to dig myself out of the COVID-induced hole, the 2020-induced hole that I got in. But it's you'll never be waiting 10 years. That's never going to happen. If that happens, I'll just quit and go learn to make spaghetti. Anyway, let's see. I should catch up on some of the comments here. Sorry, I wasn't ignoring you guys. I just wanted to make sure I didn't miss any of the shows. Let's see. Meth, hope your week was good. It was. I hope yours was too. Myth as well. Hayden's back as Lord Vader. Right there with you, man. I'm psyched. I really hope they do some flashbacks too. Get Hayden and Ewan in the Clone Wars armor so that Dennis can cheer. Sorry, Dennis, I'm making fun of you a lot today. I mean no harm. Let's see. Zach, Hayden returning. That made my day yesterday reading that. Not sure how Obi-Wan and Vader can fight before A New Hope without breaking canon. I was thinking about that. I don't know if it so much breaks canon as if canon's already a little uneven. Mostly because I know George Lucas says he planned the whole thing, but that's evidently not true on account of the whole incest thing. And also, like, if you watch episode 4 again, right, Darth is Vader's first name, right? Only a master of evil, Darth. It was literally his name. If you look at the old original script, right, it was never a title, at least not in 1977. And they sort of changed things. I think like after Lee Brackett died, right, and her draft of Empire got turned into Lawrence Kasdan's draft. So all this stuff changed, and I think there are bits where like Obi-Wan alludes to. Or rather, Darth Vader alludes to Obi-Wan thinking that he could save Vader. That's not what we saw in Revenge of the Sith. So I'm assuming that we're going to see the Obi-Wan once thought as you do, attempt on Obi-Wan's part to redeem Anakin and failing. And if that's what we get, if we get some sort of attic tragedy where Obi-Wan cannot save his best friend and makes a concerted effort, I think they said it's 10 years after Revenge of the Sith, so right in the middle, makes this concerted effort to try and save his friend. And fails. I think that could be really cool. I don't know if they have the balls necessarily to tell so grim a story, right? Because this was sort of a thing with Zelda. They just did a prequel to Breath of the Wild, and everyone's like, "Oh man, we're gonna see all the characters die!" And they did time travel, so they didn't have to tell a sad story. Mind you, they did make Rogue One, so we'll see. We'll see. Let's see. So I'm hoping, there's a little wiggle room here with canon. There's a reference to things that didn't quite play out the way we saw them in the prequels. They can play with that a little bit. I guess, when I left you, I was but the learner. That's not going to quite work out anymore. But if the other lines make more sense, so maybe it comes out in the wash. I don't know. Let's see. Dennis, I thought Waititi's Thor Ragnarok was great. I will say that I thought it was funny. It's not my favorite Thor movie. I still like the first one. But that's another conversation. I do think he's funny. I like, I can never get the title right, the vampire thing. The movie in particular. I haven't seen the show yet, but I like that. I think he's funny. Let's see. Zachary Sieben. I just got my copy of Empire Silence a few hours ago. Well, thank you. I really hope you'll like it. I love what I've read so far. Thank you. I am hard at work on number 4. I've got, I think, 17 chapters to go. So like I was saying, I'm hoping by the end of January right now is the plan. I'd hoped it would be the end of the year, but things keep happening. Had a little bit more family medical drama recently. Everyone's okay, thank heavens. Just there's no rest for the wicked, or whatever I am. Let's see. Dennis, I am looking forward to both the Bad Batch and, of course, Ahsoka. Yeah, those. I mean, I'm psyched, man. Everything we've seen so far looks good. Even the little teaser for Rogue Squadron got me pretty excited. Because I'm a sucker, and despite episodes 8 and 9, I will continue to fall for this. Let's see. Zach Tobin, Cassian is the best character in Rogue One. Yeah, it's either him or Chirrut. I like I'm a big Donnie Yen fan. I mean, dude's awesome. But Chirrut's not as substantial a character as Cassian, so a bit of a toss-up. Maybe they will do something like the return of Darth Binks. Dennis says, man, we're gonna see Jar Jar again. It's gonna happen. All right. I bet you he turns up in like Mandalorian season 3 or something. I know they're building Naboo sets, so he's gonna turn up somewhere. Dennis, maybe you could turn this into a Zoom conference, have a panel of guests. You need a moderator to sift comments and gather questions. I do want to eventually get. I want to move to StreamYards maybe because Zoom won't let me pre-schedule live streams so that you guys have a link in advance. I was doing Zoom streams for Bane for my day job over the summer, and I just could not make that work. So I'm thinking of maybe getting StreamYards and having some of my friends on and getting some folks to talk about, not just about Star Wars, but to have other authors on to talk about world building, like that video I did with Dave Butler. It'd be cool to have authors in live, do that sort of thing. Talk to a couple other writers I know. We'll see. But I would like to do that. And Meth is setting up the segue here because it's 20 minutes in and we haven't gotten to the episode. How great was Bill Burr, he says. I think he knocked it out of the park in that scene in the mess hall. Guys, this was my favorite episode of The Mandalorian, and it wasn't even close. I'm sorry, Dennis. I know Ahsoka wasn't in this one. I thought this episode was great. I thought the action was great. I thought the character work was great. The script at a dialogue level was probably the strongest of the 15 we've had so far. The only complaint I have with this episode is that I think repeating Moff Gideon's entire speech back at him for 25 seconds was maybe a little bit too much, maybe a little too on the nose, but I'll be damned if that moment didn't land perfectly anyway. I think maybe like one line at the end, just the "he means more to me than you will ever know," I think would have gotten it across. It was a little bit campy, but it was still perfect. It's so hard for me to find anything to complain about in this episode. Maybe I wish Karen Fennec had more to do. I wish Boba Fett had more to do besides repaint his armor, and he looked great. No, I wish Boba Fett had more to do after we hyped up his appearance in the last one. But we had the Slave One, and it was awesome. They did the Attack of the Clones Sonic Charge, which I was rooting for. They were flying away. I'm like, drop the damn thing. I want to hear the explosion. Which apparently was a thing a lot of people were waiting for, because it's like the top post on the Star Wars Leaks Reddit is a clip of the Sonic Charge going off. And I'm just glad it wasn't just me. It's like, please, Attack of the Clones. I need more third worst Star Wars movie references. Sorry, I forgot Rise of Skywalker existed. But no, it was so good. It was a really great action sequence on the truck there. I actually watched it twice. I got a call right in the middle of it, even though it was 6:30 in the morning. So I had to sort of go back and see it again. I liked the kinetic storytelling, right, with his armor breaking. He's not wearing a suit, right, so he had to deal with the ceramic plates shattering and adjusting to that. We got a little spear fighting practice in too. I think that's a little foreshadowing for next week. He's got Chekhov's spear now. He's got to fight Moff Gideon, get his son back. I thought that was, and the work with the helmet too was good. I, of course, would be perfectly happy if Din never took his helmet off and he stuck to his religious principles. And I think that actually dealing with that seriously and not having him sort of reform his religious beliefs as the series goes on would be maybe a braver narrative choice. But and because then moments like his removing his helmet in this episode would land, I think, a little harder if he was even more orthodox than he is. Because my suspicion, because Pedro Pascal wants his face to be seen more and more, even though we all know it's you, buddy, is that by like season 4 he's going to not wear it most of the time, and I think that's a bit of a loss. But man, that moment landed so well. Although why? If his face isn't in the system, he needs to remove it to get scanned into the system, although it's totally just going to flag him anyway. I don't know. But it didn't really matter because the character work was so solid. That discussion with the Imperial officer was really, really a good bit, right? He was making a case about how people like order more than freedom, which this year has demonstrated seems to be absolutely true. Sorry, that's a little bit too topical. But that was actually pushing the sort of philosophical boundaries of the Star Wars universe. The Empire has never gotten to make its case for itself really well, right? And that guy got to do it a little bit. Of course, Werner Herzog did in season 1 a little bit. And so that was a really interesting. We also got them humanized too, right? The stormtroopers saved them from the pirates, the rebels in the woods, right? And everyone's cheering and saluting, and there's a sense of camaraderie among the Imperial soldiers. It was really a depth of humanity to the villains in Star Wars that just had not been there before. And I was really, really glad they did that, because there was a subplot cut from Return of the Jedi where Moff Gideon refuses to orbital strike the base on Endor to deal with Han Solo and everything because he doesn't want to kill his own men, and they cut it just for time, I think. And those deleted scenes are all in the DVD. If you haven't seen them, Return of the Jedi is, I think, more deleted scenes than the other two, and it's really worth watching. And I wish it had been in there because it would have made that movie a little bit heavier and a little bit more serious than especially the Endor stuff is. But I was really, really glad we got to see that this time. And yeah, and Bill Burr, as you say, Meth, was awesome. He was great. He managed to go from just being, Bill Burr basically to having this dimension to him, and going through kind of a PTSD flashback, sitting there, right, killing his old commanding officer. And it was cool too that they worked in Operation Cinder, which was in the Battlefront 2 game. And in a bunch of the comics as well. So there was a lot of, deeper lore connection there that was really, really good. And as Zach says, I think that Imperial officer is the first one in Star Wars didn't have an English accent. Yeah, it was nice to hear, my local accent, as it were, in space. That was nice. And he was great too. Had a real sense of presence to him that I liked. That whole scene, gosh, that was a good scene. I can't stress how much I like this episode enough. Rick Famuyiwa, man, from one guy to another whose last name is unpronounceable. I'm sorry, I keep getting this wrong. Just knocked it out of the park. Absolutely great episode. Let's see. Dennis says, I think this episode was great too. I think the whole Mando experience is like having awesome pasta, and that one tastes like Tano pie. It was nice. It left me wanting more. The rest is the meal. I'm really excited about next week. So I completely agree with you. I am convinced they're going to leave us on a cliffhanger, though. And I was trying to say that, and I liked this episode at the same time, which is why I got tied up. They got to leave us on a cliffhanger this time. Those sons of bitches. So we're all going to be suffering. Herbert Thornton, did you catch Mike's book review of Empire of Silence last week? Everyone always gives you props for prose and Hadrian's Gaul. Yeah, I did. Mike and I are going to do an interview Wednesday. I don't know if it's going to get posted Wednesday or if that's just when we're talking. It'll probably be later in the week. Really excited about doing that. He's a really cool guy. Really fun review too. And I went through the comments, talked to a bunch of folks. That was real fun. And I think a whole bunch of folks came over here because of that. I think I got like 100 subscribers in the last week. So, if any of you are those guys, thank you for being here. Glad to have you. And thanks for reading. Thanks for checking things out. It's really nice. The prose itself in writing, I think, is really what sets any individual writer apart, because I think most people know how to tell stories, right? Because everybody knows when a story is wrong, right? That's why people who can't write or do comics or make movies know when a movie is bad, because everybody understands story. Story really is the thing that makes us human, because even like porpoises have some kind of language, but nothing else that we know of tells stories. And so it's so intrinsic to us that I don't think it needs to be taught. And so one of the things I like to tell people who are aspiring writers is to work on your prose style, because I think it's the only thing that really offsets people. So it's very important to me, and it's something that I've worked on very hard. And so it's humbling when people notice and feel that I have done a good job with that. So it was nice that he spent so much time on that in the review. And it was nice too that he was talking about Hadrian making mistakes and putting his foot in his mouth more often than not, and getting beat down, because there are too many of these stories, especially these biographical stories, where the character is just perfect, and because so much of it's about wish fulfillment. And I really wanted to not do that, because life is not like that. People are not like that. It was really great to hear. Sorry, it's very hard to accept compliments even by proxy. So I watched that review like 30 seconds at a time. I would pause it and then I'd like go work for half an hour and then come back and just go like, it's uncomfortable to listen to, even to praise. Let's see, Matt, catching some vibes between Mando and Cara, please. Sorry, that was my old. I was right in front of the mic. Sorry, guys. Um, there, I have most of my beta readers are sort of Tumblr shipper people. And by most of them, I mean two, Aaron and Victoria, if you're here. And I have to listen to too much shipping talk about my characters from them in the Discord, the beta reader Discord. So it's rubbed off on me. But yes, please. I think that would be great. Let's do that. Especially once, the helmet comes off. I think it would be nice to add some extra dimensions to these characters. Let's see. Joseph Portwood, Christopher, I haven't read Sun Eater yet. Well, thank you for being here. All the same, but I'm excited to get to it soon. I really respect your endeavors to connect with readers on YouTube. I wish more authors would follow suit. Keep it up. I plan on it. I don't know what I'm going to be doing after I stop these weekly streams with the Star Wars, but I'm always doing these monthly Q&As. Those are not going away next year. I am going to change a few things up. I'm going to just do one monthly newsletter instead of two, because there's some months where I just didn't have enough to justify it, and I don't want to bother people. Still keep the special newsletters when stuff comes out or goes up for pre-order, things like that. But I got some other stuff I'm working on. Probably January, I'll be able to talk about that. And I got a lot of short fiction I'm going to do next year, and hopefully another short book like The Lesser Devil, since book 4 got so terribly delayed. Got a lot of stuff I want to let everyone know about, and I will get a better camera, I promise. I got a nominally better microphone, but we'll see how much better it actually is. But I'm gonna try and get better video equipment and a better video editor, because I'm using this ancient program on my old Ubuntu laptop. It's the only one I know how to use. So I need to actually sit down and learn how to do this, maybe after I'm done with book 4, and clean things up a little bit until such a day as I can, afford help, like a real author. Let's see. Zach Tobin, I like how Boba said he couldn't go in because they might recognize my face. Man, that was I laughed. Which I took as a reference to him having the same face as every clone trooper. Totally. Yeah, I know. That was one of the better jokes in the episode. Let's see. Dennis says, speaking of your work, I met Sabine last night in the Catholics. Oh, so you're reading Lesser Devil? Awesome. I hope you like it. Looking forward to spending more time with her and her brother tonight. Well, I do hope you enjoy the rest of it. Lesser Devil was fun. It was a really fun story for me to write. I did it in about a month. I was at Worldcon in San Jose, California in 2018, and I didn't get a single panel. And so I mostly sat around in the lobby with nothing to do. Talked to my friend Griffin Barber, who's a sci-fi writer. He's got a cyberpunk book out called Second Chance Angel. I have not gotten to read it yet, but if you like the sort of noir, Blade Runner, cyberpunk kind of thing, Griffin is an awesome writer. Co-wrote it with Casey Zell, who I should not neglect, another friend of mine. But I mostly hung out with Griffin and wrote The Lesser Devil sitting at Worldcon. So I got through the first bit of it, just not being social. Conventions are not really my scene, and I didn't have anything to do, so I just sort of sat around and did that. So I actually wrote the plane chase bombing in the book. Mild spoilers, I won't say where it is. Although if you met the Catholics, you're there already, Dennis. While I was on a plane, which was fun. Thinking about planes getting blown out of the sky whilst flying is always therapeutic. It's good for the nerves. But I really like doing that, and I want to do more of those support stories. I think the next one's going to be Valka, and God willing, I will get that written this next year before I start into book 5. We'll see how that goes. I've got, I think, 4, maybe 5 short stories I need to write after I finish book 4 for different projects. And if there's time, I'm going to try and get that other novella out there. But I want to do one with Lorian. I already know the plot for that one. I know the plot for the Valka one, too. There are a bunch of other characters I'd love to revisit in some form, too, give them their own little side adventures. And I know some people want more Crispin. We'll see. I'd rather get to other characters who haven't had a story before I give anyone a sequel. I just... Those little side stories, I don't want to end up setting up big arcs. I don't want to do like they're doing with, the Mandalorian and Rangers and Ahsoka and bringing it all together into a big event. I would rather do these little side stories that sort of diverge and deepen the universe, because a lot of these characters are going to go their own separate ways, as the story moves on and people people move on, let's just say, and don't stick around. Let's see. Matt Palma says, "You mean Lord Alistair, don't you? Do a story about Lord Alistair?" It's definitely there, but I don't know if it's one of those things, because we talked about my problem with prequels, right? I don't know if it's one of those things that would make the universe smaller. I don't want to give people answers to certain questions because the question is better than the answer, right? There's a thing in Shakespeare criticism that's branched into broader literature called strategic opacity. I think Stephen Greenblatt coined the term. He's a famous Shakespeare scholar, and he's coined it in reference. And if I've talked about this on a stream, you can stop me before. I like rambling about the same topics, and some of my friends will let me do it for an hour and then tell me I've told them twice already. And then make me feel stupid on purpose. So please do stop me. But strategic opacity is this idea that you deliberately don't answer questions because the mystery enhances the experience. And he makes this case in reference to the behavior of Hamlet's ghost, which in the first act of Hamlet, everybody can see. It's clad in armor, right? So it's a very substantial ghost. And I can't forget who's with him, Horatio and Francisco and someone else, and they all see the ghost. But when the ghost appears in Act 3, right around when Hamlet kills Polonius, only Hamlet can see it. And now the question is the ghost fading away because it appears in rags in that scene? Is it less substantial? Is it slipping out, beyond the veil, as it were? Is it a hallucination of Hamlet's? Was there ever really a ghost? But there must be, because they could all see it in Act 1. Why is it behaving inconsistently? And while the hardcore, magic system style writers and readers would be annoyed by that kind of inconsistency, the fact that it exists in the first place, the fact that question exists, means that people have something to talk about. And so getting into Alistair's backstory and why he is the way he is, and how stuff fell out with House Oren and the other exile houses in the Delos system and all of that, might cheapen the experience. In the same way, I don't really want to do a Foundation Wars series, because if I do that, then I give you answers. And it's maybe more fun as a set of questions and vague ideas. Although, Matt says, would it have to be prequel? Maybe not. I don't really have an idea about what to do with Alistair after Hadrian leaves right now. There are stories, obviously, Alistair's quest is to get a planet of his own, right? To get out from under House Cephalos's heel, and go on his own way. I'm optimistic that he will succeed. I wouldn't bet against him, but I don't have a drama there yet. He will turn up again. One of the short stories I'm writing, I will say very broadly, he is in. I won't say which one that is, or when it is, or what the story is about, but I do know that he's going to turn up a little bit. But as far as giving someone a whole, novel like I gave Crispin, although it's a very short novel, we'll see about Alistair. He's further down my list. I want to do something with like Corvo or Sir Oleron would be really fun. Some of these characters I don't want to do stories about until they've reached a certain point in the main series and you know more about them, because I don't want these side projects to undercut the reveals in the main series, at least for people as the books are coming out. There's going to be some reader at some point who will read Lorian's story and be like, whoa, this happened? Oh man, book 4 is ruined, book 5 is ruined. And that's inevitable. But as far as getting the main books in order now, I don't want to ruin anything for the people who've been reading along, particularly since the beginning. But it's really fun to get to do these sort of side stories. I'm really, really excited about all these little projects I can tick through. The first few months of 2021 are going to be really fun. And of course, I'll keep everyone up to date with what I'm up to as I go. The first story I'm going to be doing is for an anthology I'm editing at Bain called World Breakers, which is about robot-controlled tanks. So I finally decided what I'm going to do, or AI-controlled tanks, I suppose, is I'm going to pit an Imperial, soldier, Legionnaire squadron, not squadron, Legionnaire troop unit against a big Cielson, Chimera, and sort of do a cat and mouse thing where they're trying to destroy this big thing. So I'm going to do that. That'll be the first story, and I'm going to write that right after I finish book 4 is the plan. So I know we're not really talking about Star Wars anymore. I hope that's okay with everybody. But it's so hard to find anything except gushing about this episode. I really did enjoy this one. I think more than all the others. There was a little bit of the Vietnam, war commentary statement made there too that I liked. Where these random peasants on the planet don't really give a damn if it's the Empire that's lording it over them or the New Republic. It's kind of all the same to the people on the ground, and I think that's broadly true. Just historically, wherever you are in the world, it didn't matter if the emperor was Persian or Macedonian; he was still taking all your not taking all your stuff, but still taxing you, still levying you to serve in the military. But it was also still protecting you from Sakai or nomads and all that stuff. So trade-offs. You want to defend yourself from the nomads, or the invading Macedonians. Good luck. Who knows? History is all about trade-offs. To be willing to make these sacrifices, shall we say? But I really did like that moment, and I like that they're trying to complicate the political, landscape of Star Wars, if in a mature way, right? I hated that bit in Last Jedi where like, oh, all rich people are war profiteers, because that is obviously not true. Some rich people have nothing to do with war. It was a really ridiculous sequence. Canto Bight was awful. But doing this, right, having Werner Herzog make his case for the Empire was really good. Pointing out that the Republic is also, a government that does things that normal people don't like, was also good, right? We had to deal with like Republic traffic cops and like out of the plates. His plates were out of date, basically, right, in episode 2, and he almost died, trying to get away because he was smuggling things. So that was that's been a good direction for Star Wars. At the same time, I would like to see more of the old, light versus dark, Jedi, like very simple, morality play storytelling. I have some issues with how the Jedi Sith moral philosophy is constructed, but who doesn't? But I would like to get back to that. And I want more damn lightsaber fights. So I'm glad we're getting Kenobi, we're getting the Acolyte, we're getting Ahsoka. So there's going to be more lightsaber fights. I'm glad about the direction they're going in with all this stuff. Even if half of them are bad, the other half will be good. I've got really high hopes for Kenobi, got really high hopes for Andor. The rest, Ahsoka's going to be pretty good, I think. I wonder if Filoni's going to show run that. That'll be an interesting question, because most of the stuff's not going to be them. I imagine Favreau is going to be involved in Ahsoka and in Rangers, because those are going to tie into The Mandalorian, which is, of course, still going. I saw Giancarlo Esposito was talking about seasons 3 and 4, so there must be at least 2 more. It'll be interesting to see where things go. Dennis here says, if you turn this into a weekly roundup of new science fiction shows and allow other authors to talk about their work and the work of others, I believe you could build a large audience. I think you're probably right. I've been trying to think about what the best way to implement that would be. It's on my list of things to do next year without a proper novel to work on. Because of the delay, I've got a little bit of space. I'm gonna start book 5 in July, so I've got 6 months of other stuff to do in the short stories. I'm doing like 2 a month. Shouldn't take the whole month. I'll be able to catch up on my everything. I'm working on building my office upstairs. There's a bunch of other stuff that needs to get done. as far as promotional stuff, and growing the channel is definitely on my list of things to do. But I'm trying to figure out how I want to get or who would be on, like a regular cast of characters that I want to bring on. And I want to figure out how to do that correctly on the software level too. I think StreamYards might be the way to go, but we'll see. We'll see. We're moving in that direction here soon. I also need more practice talking generally, so I don't say all the time. Listening, there we go again. Listening to this can sometimes be difficult for me because I catch all of my mistakes. Dennis also says, from what I read, Filoni is writing Ahsoka. I hope so. I hope so. Dennis, I would love to help. We'll talk, Dennis. We will talk. Let's see. Zach says, I believe Ahsoka show is being run by Filoni and Favreau. Oh, cool. So they're doing all of them. Or at least maybe doing all the ones that tie into the Mandalorian in some capacity. I bet they've got a rotating cast. We'll bring Bryce Dallas Howard and Deborah Chow's doing Obi-Wan, so she's done Mandalorian, but maybe Rick will stay around, and the other folks, and they'll sort of rotate through. That'll be cool. I'm pretty optimistic about Star Wars for the next couple of years at this point. Unless a couple of these are real stinkers, but Andor looks pretty good so far. We'll see. I'm sure something inevitably will happen that will make me upset. That's one of the reasons I'm hesitant to do this for all of them, because I don't want to come on here and just be angry. So if something happens, I'm just like, it's terrible, it's garbage. I don't want to do that. It could be too dramatic. And I don't want to be too controversial. I would rather people just like my books and everyone hang out and talk about things. That would be more fun. Anyhow, starting to say too many times. So I think what we'll do then is just reconvene for the season's finale next week, everybody. I'm very excited. Like I say, I loved this episode. And if the next one continues in this vein, I think, because as a final point, I'll say, I think part of why this episode was so good was that it was totally in service of this overarching plot, right? Everything they did was in service of trying to get Greg back from bugging out, from Do the Right Thing. They're on their way to get Greg back, and not a beat was wasted, right? All the character work was in pursuit of that goal. It was not Monster of the Week. It wasn't unfocused. It wasn't, a weird side quest about spiders or frog people or whatever. It was just totally on point. And if the show is moving in that direction, if we're really getting into the big game now, if they are going to really start juggling these knives, the Thrawn question, where's Sabine, where's Ezra, all this other stuff, and actually start getting things churning, Kara's going to go off, do her own thing, then I think season 3 is finally going to really, really get into the big game, right? And that's going to be a big step up, I think, for pacing. If we can get more of this sort of episode with the momentum and the depth and the character work, now that we've laid all of this groundwork for 2 seasons, I think we'll be in really good shape. I'm very optimistic about the finale. I do think they're going to leave us on a cliffhanger. I don't know if it's going to be a Jedi reveal like we were talking, or if it's going to be something else entirely. I'm really, really hoping for that Darksaber fight. That's where I'm pinning all my hopes, and I really hope it's not going to be another 30-minute episode, because I'll cry. But I think we're in good shape, and I am excited about it. See, Dennis says maybe Rangers of the New Republic will end up being a Snoke clone of the week show. Maybe. I hadn't forgotten about old Snoke. Man, what a waste of Andy Serkis. Shameful. Anyway, we'll see. But I feel very good about this, at least for the next week or so. We'll see what happens after that. But until next time, everyone, thank you for being here. I will see you all next week. And then after that, we'll move to less regularly scheduled programming, but more Sun Eater content. I got a whole list of videos I intend to make. I'll flash it very quickly. I keep putting ideas down. A lot of them, are I need to do, readings from the books, things like that. But the channel is only getting started. And I think, Dennis, we will try to get some more people on. So we will see. But next week, everybody, I will see you then. Hope you all have a good week. We're getting close to the holidays and to the end of this cursed year. So we'll see you then. Night, everybody.